look at this introduction, Zenda, to say we are looking at the general formula here and some concept that I call the product sum. So let us, when we're talking about factorization in this place, we're talking about a polynomial now. In this polynomial, the general form will be given as ax squared plus bx plus c. I think you have seen something like this, am I right? To say, for example, maybe if it's 2x squared plus maybe 3x minus 2, whereby the a is represented by that 2 and the b is represented by the 3 and the c is represented by the negative 2. So that is what we mean by the general form. So every time you are given a problem, sometimes they like mixing it. For example, they can give you something like this. They'll say minus 2 plus 3x plus x squared. See, when they give you like this, you must always remember to first transform it into the general form. So always go back to that. Are you with me? Whereby you have to start by your x squared followed by your 3x, then negative 2. Please remember that. So they usually confuse students in that part. Now when we also talk about the product sum, what we are having from this general form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So when I refer now to say we're talking about the product sum, what you are actually looking at is you are taking this part with the number and the sign, so automatically there is a positive there. So you are taking that part and also the last part, don't forget the sign must be inside. So you take these two and these two you multiply them. That's what we call the product. So usually I call it P for product, and then the center one, which is, you can see what is the center here, is plus bx. This center one is called the sum. Are you with me? So we're going to use this part later. So again, back to this example that I'm giving here to say, if we're saying what is the product, so the product, there is a 1 there that is hidden. So you're going to multiply that and that to get your product. So your product here will be 1x squared times 2 times negative 2. It will be negative 2x squared. That is your P, you know. And then your sum is just identifying that your S there is positive 3x. You know what I mean? So but we're going to look at that in detail. So let us look at an example here. The question here will come and say, factorize the following expression. So when they want you to factorize, remember I said in an exam, you need to be knowing what do I do when. If they give you 4 terms, remember there were 4 items, maybe let's say plus 5x here, you know that you have to group. Remember the grouping part? That is whenever it's 4. But now there is the next one. When they give you 3 terms and there is a higher power, like 2, you must know that now I must change and use, like what I said, in this case I'm going to use the product sum method. Are you with me?
Like polynomials.
Yes, yes. So now when I look at this now using that product sum, I'm going to identify now what is my product and what is my sum. That's the method I use, so I'm just going to stick to that one to say for now there is a 1 there because that's the coefficient of x squared. If there is no number, it means it's a 1. So I'm multiplying this number or this part and I'm multiplying it with that. So when you multiply these two, my product will be in this case equal to 1 times 3 is negative 3x squared. Are you with me? And then my sum is what is remaining in the center, and my sum there is positive 2x. We're together, right? Then what I usually do now is to find my factors, which is f. Now the factors here are the factors of the product. Don't forget, this is how these two link. It is the factors of the product, and in this case you're looking at factors of minus 3. So that's what we are looking at, the factors of negative 3. Meaning, how can we find negative 3? For example, it's 1 times 3 will give me a 3, right? But But now, remember, I want to get a negative 3. So for me to get a negative 3, if I take my calculator, if I say 1 times negative 3, it gives me a negative 3. See that? So 3 in this case is negative, or minus 1 times a positive 3 still gives me a negative 3. So you can see that there are two ways. It's either the 1 is negative, or 1 times negative 3. All these will give me negative 3. So these are two ways that I can get negative 3. There is no other way I can get a negative 3. Now, from these factors, which means they pass the first stage of the product, okay, I'm getting a negative 3. The next part now is they must meet the condition of the sum. So when I add one of these, I must get a positive 2. So when I get my calculator now and add these two numbers, the first one is minus 1 plus 3. Remember, I'm adding them now. So minus 1 plus 3, I'm getting what? A positive 2, which is what I'm having there. You see that?
Yes.
But now let me add the second one. It will be 1. This is the one I'm adding now. It's 1 plus negative 3. You see, I'm getting a what? A negative 2. But I don't have a sum of a negative 2. I have a sum of a positive 2. So the one that I need is this one, which is minus 1 plus 3. That is the one that I need. So from these factors, this is the correct factor. That one I don't need. When I've done that, my factors then are minus 1x. You just add an x. Then you say and positive 3x. Remember, we're dealing with x. Then you add that. Remember, when I multiply these two numbers, again, when I multiply them, it will give me minus 1 times 3, it's negative 3, x times x, it's x squared. So it will meet the condition of the product. When I add these numbers, if I say minus 1x plus 3x, I'm getting a positive 2x, which is back again to my sum. So with that in mind, we can then finalize and say, how do I write this statement now? Remember, I've been given x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now, instead of having 2x, now I substitute it with these two numbers that I got here. Because remember, this is my 2x. So I'll substitute and say minus 1x plus 3x minus 3. So you see, the aim was to change it from 3 digits into 4 numbers. When I change it into 4 items like this, why am I doing it? Because I want to introduce that grouping, remember?
Yes.
That's why I'm doing that. So that from 2, I come up with 2 terms, which will allow me now to group. So now when I'm grouping, what is common in the first one? It's my x. Just to maintain my pen there. So x is common in the first one.
Yes.
So when I divide x into x squared, I'm left with x, and then x into minus 1x, I'm left with negative 1. Then also positive there, I take out a 3, that's the only common one. 3 into x, it's x, 3 into 3, it's minus 1. Remember, these must always match. Alright, so what we have here, it's x minus 1, and I've got x plus 3. I don't know whether you are following in that case.
Yes.
So
follow you.
yes. So remember now then that just time is always sometimes when you're teaching we don't have time to do everything, but I'll do it later in one of the examples that we want to be sure. But you need to prove this. Always prove it. Always prove it. It's very important.
Okay.
By proving, you need to expand x minus 1 and your x plus 3. Please, this is very important, because sometimes you might have made an error with your signs, whereby you need to open that and open that. You need to open that and you open that. It must take you back to your original, which is that. Don't forget, you need to always prove your answer, because that is where you'll be marking yourself to say, you know what, I know I got it right. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Alright, now, just take this one for me. try it on your own because I just want to move on. Just write it down when you get time. I want to try it on your own and then to factorize that one, which is x squared minus 5x plus 6. Try it on your own and go back to the video that remember those videos, you'll find the solution. Now this one is the one I want us to look at in a way to say, sometimes they give you like this, and they say factorize. Again, you have to ask yourself, what are they trying to where is the confusion? Because the examiner's duty is to confuse you, and your duty is to see you're trying to trick me, but I'm not going to be tricked, So they mix this intentionally because they want you to remember the general form. Remember, ax squared plus bx plus c. That is the first thing. They will give you a mark for rearranging this. You understand?
Oh, okay.
Yes, just rearranging this is a mark because they mixed it intentionally to try to understand, are you aware that this thing has got a general form? So rearranging it, you start with your x squared, which is positive, which is x squared, followed by negative minus 6. That is already a mark, Xander, for that because there you're trying to show them, I know I cannot factorize in this mix-up. I first have to convert it. Alright? So the next thing, we do the product. Remember, there is a 1 here. So now if I'm doing my product, you multiply that and that to get my P. So 1 times 6. So my product is negative 6x squared. And then the sum. Remember, the product is multiplying. The sum is addition. So what is the sum? Is the center number, which is this one, which is negative 1x. Yes.
Yeah.
So now what are the factors? Now the factors in this case, I said you are always looking for the factors of the product. Remember? It's the factors of the product. So in this case, we're looking at the factors of 6. So to get 6 is 1 times 6 will give me a 6. The next one is a 2 times 3. Am I right?
Yes.
These are different ways of getting a 6. So these are the factors, like 1 times 6 will give me a 6. The next possible number is a 2 times 3. The next one is 3 times 2, which is same as 2 times 3. So these are the only 2 ways of getting a 6. But now, in as much as you have gotten these numbers, you need to be careful now of the signs. The question is, I need to get a negative product. So remember, to get a negative product, one of the numbers must be negative. So you can have 2 versions here, minus 1 times 6 or 1 times minus 6. Again, minus 2 times 3 or 2 times minus 3. All these, when I multiply, as long as one of them is negative, it will give me a negative product. Are you with me?
Yes.
You are finding that? Yes. So minus times a positive is always a negative. So when you have done that, the guy who will give you the final answer from these 4 is the sum. The sum is the one that is the decider here. Because at the end of the day, whatever we have of these, the sum is the one that zooms in to say, I need a sum of negative 1. So your calculator will come in handy. You try all of them. For example, you are adding now. Where there is a times, you are putting a plus now. You are saying minus 1 plus 6 is not giving me a negative 1. So that one is wrong. I do the next one. Minus 2 plus 3. It's giving me a positive 1. But that's not what I need. I need a negative 1, remember? Again, 1 plus negative 6. Again, it's a negative 5 is out. And 2 plus negative 3. You see that one? Negative 1. So which means all of these are off, but the correct one is that one. And which means if I write them as factors, it is 2x and it is minus 3x. Remember to replace with the x there. So when you write it now in final, you are having x squared minus x minus 6, which is equal to x squared. Now you are using those 2 now, which is plus 2x minus 3x minus 6. So we are changing it from 3 items into 4 items, whereby we can now do grouping. And when you are grouping, you take the first 2 and ask yourself what's common in the first 2 and what's common in the last 2. So let's look at that. What's common in the first 2 is our x, and then You open a bracket, x into x squared is my x into 2x, I get a positive 2. Now the second one, I've got two negatives, so already I take a negative there. Then 3x and 6, 3 is common. Because I took out a negative, it means whatever is inside now will remain positive. So 3 into 3x, I'll get an x. 3 into 6, I get a positive 2. Yeah. So the aim is always to match that. If it doesn't match, it means I must go back again and see how I did my grouping. Because if it doesn't match, it means because it has to match so that you can write this one as your x plus 2. You see that? Because if it's different now, which one are you going to choose? That will confuse you. And outside the bracket, it's x minus 3 there, which is I'm writing outside the bracket. It's always like that. So when you've done that, you have managed to what? To factorize. Now, as I said, just quick one, it is always a good idea for you to do some proof. Now, if we prove this and say x plus 2 and x minus 3, now let's open up some brackets here. This one multiplies like that multiplies like that, and this multiplies like that, and this multiplies like that. So it will give me what? It will give me the first one, x times x squared, then x times minus 3
minus x squared,
and then x times 2 is positive there, 2x,
okay.
And then 2 times negative 3 is minus 6. So if you check this, now you have to add it further now, just to get 3 items, which is x squared. Now minus 3 plus 2 is, I think it's a negative 1. Yes, negative 3 plus 2 is a negative 1. So which is negative 1x, negative 6. Now if you check with our original, you can see, if you can simple, you see the x is positive x squared. We've got a positive x squared. We've got a negative x, which is our negative 1x, and we've got our negative 6, which is also our negative 6. So that is just an assurance to say, even if you finish your exam, you can literally mark your exam to say, I know I passed that method, that question. All right.
Yeah.
So this one I'm not going to do again. Just do it on your own and check out on the video. It's 3x squared minus 13x plus 14. If you can just take it down, then when you want to check your answer quickly, you can revert it to that. Yes. Can I move on?
Yes.
Alright. Now on this kind, this is another one that sometimes they bring in just as a confusion, but it's not supposed also to confuse, whereby they bring in two different variables like an a squared and a b squared. So what I want to remind you, when they give you something like this, the concept remains the same. You focus on the numbers. There is a 1 there. You multiply that and you multiply that. Nothing changes. This is your product. So my product here is 1 times negative 3. It's minus 3, and then a squared and b squared. This you must treat it just like x squared, so it mustn't confuse you, but I'll show you as we continue. Then the sum is the center number, actually with the sign, and the sum there is positive 2ab, right? And when we go for the factors now, the factors is the factors of the product, remember. So it's the factors of 3, which is 1 times 3. Then, as I said, to get a negative 3 is either it's minus 1 times 3 or it's 1 times negative 3. So that's how I can get a negative 3. Then when I've done that, the next part is to ask myself is I need a positive sum, a sum of positive 2. And we did something similar. You can see that this is the right one, because minus 1 plus 3 I get a positive 2 if I add this part. Are you with me? So this one is off. Now, how do I then transform my a squared plus 2ab minus 3b squared? Now, these factors that I chose, I said it's minus 1. It's minus 1. You just maintain your ab because the sum is in ab form. And positive 3, again, you maintain it. It's in ab form. So you'll have your a squared minus 1ab plus 3ab minus 3b squared. So that is, as I'm saying, the b and a must not confuse you because it's just the same. Then you do the same thing, you group, take your first two and take your last two, find out what's common. Now our first two, a squared and ab, you can see that a is coming out as common there. Then you divide a into a squared, we get our a, and then a into ab, it's negative b there. Are you seeing that? Then I must get a similar bracket in the next one. It's always a must. If I don't get a similar bracket, it means I must check again where I made an error. So what is common in the next one? 3 is common as the first number, positive 3, and a b. Yes, thank you for that. Now 3b into 3ab, I get my a, and then 3b into 3b squared, it's a negative b. So you can see that I'm in the right direction. Then after that, I write what is inside the bracket, which is a minus b. I write what is outside the bracket, which is that and that, which is a plus 3b. Are you following the Sandra?
I'm following you.
Yeah, so it mustn't, whenever they bring different letters, they can bring even the whatever thing. Don't get confused. Your guy that will tell you the factor is the sum. It's always okay. Now let us come again.
But always caught me sometimes.
Oh, this one. Okay. So yeah. So but you saw that.
If you have polynomials also in the background of your head as well, then you think of this and then you get confused between the two.
Okay. So the aim, as I said, is don't just tell yourself I'm dealing in a way. Tell yourself here I'm dealing with one thing. This is one thing in your mind. You understand?
Yeah.
And when you are coming here, remember your sum is involving that. And your factors here, you see how I managed to put them together here when I was doing the product sum. This is your kind of like how everything links down there. Are you with me? So your product and your sum, if you find those numbers, just do like what we did previously. After finding the numbers, you just maintain your AB and you maintain your AB. Alright. Okay. But as I say, just as I'll be going through, we can always find more examples on this so that we can just to get more practice. Okay? Now, the next one, Zenda, because the aim of this lesson, as I said, it was LCM and highest common factor, where they give you marks. I'll show you some previous question papers. Now, let us look at this part. It says find the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor of the following. Remember, we're doing numbers previously, where we're looking at simple like 2x. Sometimes they'll say find the common factor, like maybe they say between 2x and then 3x squared and maybe 3xy, 4xy, whereby we're looking at the HCF individually and you looked at LCM. Now we did this in the previous chapters, okay? But now what they do, they can give you something like this, and the good thing is for this one is already it is factorized. So now when they give it like this, it mustn't also look like something totally difficult or what, but the concept of the LCM and the HCF is still the same. So how do you approach this? When they say find, let's for example start with our LCM. LCM. Remember the lowest common multiple, the moment they say lowest, we say you take the highest powers. Remember that one? It's the lowest, but you focus on the highest powers. So you come in the first one and you ask yourself, what am I having in the first one? I've got a minus b, I write it down. Right? And what am I having? We're going to come with the powers later. I've got a plus b, you write it down. And what do I have? I've got m minus 1. That's what I'm having in the first one. Then you go to the second one and ask yourself, is there things that are repeating? Yes, the a minus b is repeating, but now I go to the third one. Is there something repeating of the same? There is a minus b. So we've got a minus b, a minus b. We focus only on the highest power, and our highest power is what? Is a 2.
Right.
That's what you do. Then you come again. Do we have a plus b that is repeating? Yes, I have my a plus b. I have my a plus b, I have my a plus b. I focus on the highest power. There is a 1 there, there is 2, there is cubed, so I focus on 3. Then lastly, do I have m minus 1? I've got m minus 1, I've got m minus 1. It's not repeating, but it's still fine. Remember, it's the LCM. It doesn't matter. Every item must be represented, remember. So I've got m minus 1. So I've got m minus 1, m minus 1. But look, there are some things I didn't tick. There is it. I didn't tick this. You see, I was ticking intentionally so that the first one will tell me what is repeating down, but whatever I did not tick, it means it's unique. So I also come here and say there is an extra one, which is m plus 1. And the highest power there is a 1. Then this is your LCM. It means every item must be represented in its bracket form. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, we are going to do our highest common factor now. With the highest common factor is the opposite. With the highest common factor, it means it must be a factor of all of the 3. If it doesn't appear in all of the 3, it means it's not common. So now we look at it and ask ourselves which one is repeating. We check with a minus b. We check with a minus b, and we check with a minus b. But with the highest common factor, we do the opposite. We take the lowest power. So which one is the lowest power? It is a minus b to the power 1. So that is the first one. Alright. We check the second one. A plus b is repeating in all the 3, but the first one is the one with the power 1. So you've got your a plus b. And then you do the next one, which is m minus 1. M minus 1, but I don't have m minus 1 in the third one, so it's not going to be common. Again, I've got m plus 1 in the second and the third, but it's not in the first. So which means my highest common factor is complete like that. Okay. Alright. So now, when we're pulling this together, Zanda, we're going to come back to this. Let me show you something here. This, for example, is a question paper. I think it was written in 2016. You can see this one. So it's one paper that was written in 2016, and this question, there was a question here, just trying to look at a few things that we did prior. Let's look at this example in particular. I'm interested in number 1 point, it's this one. I'm interested in this one. You see that one?
Yes.
Now, it says, the question there says fully factorize, you know? And how many marks is that? It's 3 marks. Are you able to see the marks?
I can see them.
Yeah, it says fully factorize. Now, if they say fully factorize, if you leave it hanging, definitely they'll penalize your mark. So let's look at it. It says 3. I'm sorry that the screen is much brighter now. Sometimes it can affect some students, you know, when it's too bright. So it's 3x cubed y minus 12x squared y plus 9xy. You see that? Now, they say fully factorized. The first thing I'm picking up is check out what's repeating in all the 3. There is 3x cubed y, xy. So xy, do you see that xy is repeating in all the 3?
Common.
It's common. That's it. And then look at the numbers. We've got a 3, we've got a 12, we've got a 9, which means 3 is also common there. See that? So we can actually take out our 3, and x is common. And remember, when you're taking out the common factor, you take out the smallest one with the power 1. So it's x and the y. And we said whenever you're taking out something common, you can do it in your rough work. On top of this paper, you divide Zanda to say, I've got 3x cubed y. I'm divided by what I said was common, which is 3xy. You know, so that you can literally see like what you're doing. Cancel the y, the x will cancel to remain with 2 there. See that? So yeah. I've got x squared. Again, you do the same thing with your 12 x squared y. You divide by 3xy. Again, the y cancels. The x to x squared, 1 will remain. The 3 into 12, it's a 4. So it's negative 4x. Right? You can continue the next one, which is 3 into 9. It's a positive 3. Now xy will cancel xy so that you remain with just that number. Are you seeing that?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
this,
Then we have no form.
yes. So in here, Zenda, it looks like you factorize as done, but that's why they say it fully. You see what is inside the bracket? That's your product and sum. You see. So this was your first mark. Okay. So now you're supposed to go on with this one to say, I need to move on further. It's not done to say I need to factorize my x squared minus 4x plus 3. You do the same thing. There is a 1 there. This is your product. Remember, you do the product sum method. So you've got 1 times that. Our product is what?
3x squared.
Yes, that's good. 3x squared. And then what is our sum?
Minus 4x.
Thank you. And then we're looking at the factors of 3. Factors of 3 is 1 times 3. Now we need a positive. In this case, we need a positive 3. So how many ways can we get a positive 3? It's only when both of the numbers are positive. Because when, actually, no, I'm wrong. How many ways can we get a positive? Let me use a calculator just to prove this. Look at this. It's 1 times 3 symbol is 3. Am I right? But now, if I do this and I say negative 3 times negative 3, 2 of them are negative, I still get a positive 3. Do you see that? So it's either both of them are positive, or, so it's either 1, just to be clear, 1 times 3, or negative 1 times negative 3. You see that?
Yes.
So it's either both of them are positive or both of them are negative. Now, my decider is always the what? This is the decider, the sum.
Yes.
Because I need to add these two numbers to get a negative. So obviously you can see that I cannot add 1 plus 3 to get a negative 4. It means it's negative 1 plus negative 3. That can only give me the what? The negative 4. So this will be my factor. So my factors here will be, in this case, it's negative 1x, remember, and negative 3x. You have to put it in that part. So I will have then, from here, it will be x squared minus 1x minus 3x, right? And then plus 3. Remember, where there was a negative 4, I'm substituting with minus 1 minus 3. Then I group.
Confident, must I share all this working out on the final answer?
Okay, this one, they might not need it. This one, they might not need it. But from here, if there is a way you can do it quickly and then you come back from this to this, you definitely need to show this one. Because factorizing by grouping is what they're trying to test you there. Alright, so this one of the factors, let's say you feel like, it's a lot of work, let me do it on my rough work, and then, but from these factors, you see you're coming out with these two numbers. They will need to see these two numbers, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, don't come up with now already, you are now having it like, I'll show you later. Now let's take out x, I'll have x minus 1, and then in the next one, I'm taking out, you see when it's a negative here, Xander, that's where students sometimes are confused a little bit. There is a negative 3 and a positive 3. I always say if two signs are different, take out a positive for the first time, positive 3. Now positive does not change the inside, it will be negative x plus 1. That's when you can see that the signs are different, you see. Then you can come and rectify and say it's x minus 1. Then I take out a negative 3 so that it becomes x minus 1. You see that? It's always better for you to be conscious of that negative. So what students sometimes do is they take out that negative there, but they forget to change it later so that it affects now the brackets, okay? So just be careful whenever you are dealing with a negative and a positive in that case.
Okay.
So when you're doing that, x minus 1, we are saying there. And the next one is what? X minus 3. So you ask me a question to say, must I show the steps? If you just show up with these answers under, they will penalize you now. Because the question is, where did it come from? So you cannot move from this and you come back to that. Something you lost all your working. That's why usually in the exam, they will say, show all your working and intermediate steps. So they want to see your kind of factorizing, how you are doing it. But remember, this is not the answer. You must go back. I'm just going to erase it just because of my space. You must come back to your answer. Remember, your answer must be final now to say Your answer is 3x, y, and then you've got x minus 1 and x minus 3. Now, don't you see, picture it, this working was not there, and then you moved from here, you came to the final answer. You know, they will mark you, trust me, some of the working they will mark you, but the problem is, when you do it too much of leaving out the working, somewhere things of 8 marks and stuff, you get penalized later. So you don't want a situation whereby you are getting too much used into writing almost all things as answers, so that most of the working you are just throwing it away. The question is, if you're doing the working, just include it so long, you know, you don't lose anything.
But they won't penalize you if you anywhere put your work in there, or will they?
Like this working on the side, you know what I do? This is what I do on the arrangement of my work. So let's say I was working on this thing. What I will do is I will divide my line into two, just like this. I will divide it like this. Okay, let me use a red one. I will divide my line like this, right? My original will come here, and then my working will come here. Whatever was working here will be on this side. Then the final of that working then is translated into the final answer here on my side. Are you getting it? So for example here, I would have just divided this. So this thing was supposed to be on this side. So when I get my x minus 1, x minus 3, I can move from here to here. But the guy must look at my working here to see how I got the final answers this side.
Alright.
Yeah, so dividing your page in a way, you know, like making a division thing to say, let me work this side and let me write my final this side is also a good way of presenting it.
And if I do, I must maybe also do that working out. Can I write that working out in pencil or pen?
Pen, man. Just use your pen. Anything that you write in pencil, they don't look at it. It's rough work. So even if they needed to mark it, they won't mark it because it's a pencil.
Oh, sure.
So remember, they'll say use either a blue or a black pen. So suppose there was an answer there. You know the important thing again, Xander, of showing your working. Sometimes, out of interest sake, let's say you were working here, and you know, while you're working, you made an error with your negative here. Then you ended up having x minus 1, and then you ended up having x plus 3. You see that? Right?
Yeah.
Now, you were working. Now, the guys have a right to come at least and mark you that one there. Because they see the error where it occurred. You made an error on the side, but you have got 2 marks now out of 3. You see? But now, you not showing and just coming out like that, you might actually be penalized to say this whole part was wrong. You see, they are viewing it now as a one thing, but when you come back in the working part, he's able to justify to say he did well the factors, it's just that he lost it in the last one, so I can give him a mark there.
Okay.
Yeah, and you must understand the human nature. Whenever we are marking, I've been to marking, but not the M2 Xander. I marked some metric papers. You know, there is a human element of your own judgment as a marker to say, does this student deserve a mark? So, so that whole thing is not in the memo, but I must use kind of my own judgment. I will say with a little bit of feeling, you know, I feel for you, but at the same time, sometimes I might feel, why were you throwing away all the working? So there is all that emotions that I'm involved in when someone is marking your paper. So you need to also get into understanding that it's not robots which are marking, it's human beings. And because of that, I need to try to present it the way the instructions are given, so that it doesn't have an excuse to penalize you, me a mark.
Okay, now I hear what you're saying.
Alright. So let's look at this one now. There is another one. It was a November one. You know, some of these questions they repeat. Okay. Let's look at these instructions. Let me see. Show all formula. You see this? This is very important, Xander. It says show all the formulas you are using and intermediate steps and simplify where possible. So if you don't show this part, the guy can be justified to say, I'm penalizing him because he never followed the instructions. Alright. Sure. That's what I'm saying on that. I think it was good that you raised it.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it was good that you raised it.
What are those little green money keys? What are those little green things?
Oh, these green things. You know what they do? They want to, usually what happens is when papers are written, just because, you know, students and the papers leaking and everything, this is more like a watermark of that paper's the month. So if the paper is like this, it means it's the original thing. It's more like it's more like students try to get these papers, the way papers leak and everything. So what they do is it's an official to say this is official. This is the official paper to be written for that block.
I thought that was it means it's very difficult. I thought that
no, because of the guy who's watching you there.
Yeah.
I see. Now that it's all the papers have got different things, and it's just a matter of trying to understand that for this paper, this was kind of the code or that uniqueness of this paper for this block. Okay, but it's got nothing to do with difficulty or what. Sometimes papers leak, so it's a way that they're trying to avoid someone having a wrong paper, trying to track their system to say which one is the official paper that was released. Yes, but not because sometimes you find a heart, sometimes you find an animal, you find different things altogether, So let me see this other one. This one I didn't see anything on this one. I think they started putting it recently. It was not there in the old papers. It is now in these new papers that they are adding this. In the old papers,
I had it once.
Yeah. So
the last time I tried, I had it.
Yes,
it like that.
It's something like that, and you're like, what are these things? Especially this picture. You see this guy who's this guy who's in a mask like this. You're thinking he's a very serious dude there.
I think I thought they said yes. They marked these ones for super hard. It's like green alien. These are really hard, and then that messed with my head, eh?
Or to say, hey, the way that alien face was, it shows that it was a hard paper. I see. Now it's fine. Now look at this, and it says this is another question. Question 2 that was written in 2019. It says, given the following algebraic expression, so we are given this. You've got that, you've got that, you've got that. Now the question says, factorize each expression completely. Now, how many marks then do you have there? It's 7 marks.
7.
You see?
Yes.
But that's not the end. From 7 marks, remember this is 2.1.1. It goes on to 2.1.2. Now it's 8 marks. It goes on to 2.1.3. Now it's 11 marks that you are having there. Just linked to factorizing, highest common factor, and lowest common multiple. So, which means you cannot just afford losing these marks. You know what I mean? So, now let's factorize. The first one is not difficult. It's 5a squared minus 5. But you must ask yourself, why the 7 marks on all this? So if you divide it by, you can say maybe this one can be 2 marks, this one can be 2 marks, this one can be 2 marks, which means one of them there is 3 marks, because if I divide them there, it means one of them can be 3 marks. Are you seeing that?
Okay.
Now,
yes.
Factorizing that, what are we having? What is common there? You see, that is what you must ask yourself in an exam. You have got 3 different things. Okay, let's analyze this. That's how the approach is like. You have got 3 different things here, 3 expressions. The one is got, you see, they are growing it. It's got 2 items. From 2, it's got how many items? 3. From 3, it's got how many items? 4. So now, if it's 2 items, chances are difference of 2 squares. Remember that.
Yeah.
If it's 3 items, product, sum. If it's 4 items, you cannot check, but chances are you will group first and see how the way it takes you. So let's look at this one. 5a squared minus 5. 5 is common. There I will have a minus 5 into 5 is a 1. It's a squared actually, sorry about that. Are you seeing that? Which makes it into a perfect different, remember different of 2 squares. 1 is same as 1 squared. So it's 5 a minus 1 and what? A plus 1. So you see, then you get a 2 marks there.
Yeah.
I getting what's happening there. Then you continue.
Yeah.
There is the next one.
Yeah.
20a squared minus 20, and that you must ask yourself, what is this one about? You check. If you check, take out. You can see already. I'm going to take out 20, 20, 20. If I take out 20 there, 20 into 20a squared, I will have a squared. You see that? 20 into 40 is negative 2. It's negative 2a. And then 20 into 20 is plus 1. Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
So now,
In general.
yes. So now with that then, I can factorize further now to say product and, see that? Product and sum. So my product then, if I do my product, is equal to 1a squared. My sum is equal to negative 2a. What are my factors? Which means I'm looking at the factors. Remember the factors of the product. It's always the factors of product. Now what are the factors of 1? It's simple, 1 times 1. You know? But now I need a negative 2 when I add them, which means it's minus 1, minus 1. Thank you. So it's minus 1a, minus 1a. So I can move on here to say, if you are with me there, I can now, just to erase this part and say, as you are saying, to say, I can now write and say, this is 20a squared minus 1a minus 1a plus 1. Are you seeing that? Then I've got 20 must go with me. Now, whenever you have this now, you can, because they're going to be more than 2 brackets, you can have the square now, because you want to take out the first a there, and now put another bracket. You see that? So a into a squared, it's a, then a into 1a, it's minus 1. And then, you see, I told you, if there is a negative and that, start with a plus first, you know. But it's 1 and 1, just take out that 1, because 1, 1, 1 is just take out a 1, you know. So take out a 1 here, you'll have negative a plus 1. Then close the big bracket. Then after that, you still have your 20. You've got your a, which is a minus 1. Now take out the negative there, it becomes what? A minus 1, so that it can match now, because it was not matching at first. You see that? Then continue with your 20. You've got now your a minus 1 inside the bracket. But remember, actually, just put a 1 there. Always have a 1 there so that you can see what is outside. Outside the bracket is that, which is what? A minus 1. So how many do you have? You've got 2 of them, which is 20. A minus 1. A minus 1 is a minus 1 squared. Remember, this is very important later for your highest common factor and your LCM.
Hello.
You see where it's heading into. So that was that part. That was that part. So don't leave it separate like that. Put it in squared. Yeah, if you put it in squared, it will determine. Remember, for LCM you take the highest powers. For highest common factor you take the lowest powers. So if you don't put that square, you might miss out on these other 3 marks. Are you with me? So now let's look at this one now. This one says 10a. Let's try to group there. What is common in the first one? It's 10.
10a.
Yeah, thank you. 10a. It will be a there, because 10a into 10a squared is a. Now negative 10a into 10a is a minus 1. Am I right?
Yeah.
And then again I'll say plus, because there's a negative and a positive. Plus 10 AC and C. What is it? It's C common. Do you see that? Then 10 into negative 10 is negative 1, which is negative a. You see that one? Because a is remaining there.
Yeah.
And then 10c is plus what? It's plus 1. So you see that the signs are just different there. So I will say 10a, then I'll have a minus 1, and then minus 10c, and then I'll have a minus 1. Remember the interchanging of that sign?
Okay.
Then after I've done the interchanging of that sign, I've got my a minus 1 inside. I've got 10a minus 10c. Are you seeing that one?
Yeah.
But is it complete? No. Look at it.
No.
The fact that we have got, thank you. Now the fact that we still have a 10 there, thank you. Take out a 10. It's a minus 1, and then it will be what? A minus c. See that? Very important. So these are our final answers. These are our final answers. These are our final answers. Now the question then was, I'm just going to erase so that this becomes clear. I think you saw the working. As I said, I will upload these. If ever you're struggling later, you can always look at them, okay? So now they said factorize this. That was your 7 mark center. So factorizing was what we did. Now to finalize this, determine the HCF for all the three expressions. Highest common factor, remember, for highest common factor, it's just 1 mark. You know why it's 1 mark?
Yeah.
Because your duty now is just to identify which one is repeating in all the three. So let's start 5. Let's start with the numbers. We have a 5, and here we've got a what? A 10, a 20, and we've got a 10. You can see that 5 is common. You see that?
Yeah.
5 is common. So you take your 5. So we say highest common factor. Here, this is our HCF. We have got a 5. Let's move on. I've got a minus 1 on the first one. I have a minus 1 squared, which is good. And I have a minus 1 on the other one. Do you see that a minus 1 is there on all the three? Yeah. And the other one is a square, but I take the smallest power, which is a minus 1. It's only that one that is repeating in all the three.
Yeah.
So that is your highest common factor. Now, when they say your LCM now, your LCM is everything now. You write everything now. Now, obviously, when you look at the number 5 and 10 and 20, you can see that, remember what is 5 is into 10, 5 is into 20. So you take the biggest number, which is 20 then. Are you seeing that? Because 20 and 5 is in, 5 is in 20 and 10 is in 20. See that? So you take the 20, then move on. What else? You've got a minus 1. And then you've got a plus 1 from the top one. The top one here. Now we go to the second one. The 20 is covered, but a minus 1 squared, which means I take that a minus 1 and take the highest power there and put it under squared. You see that one?
Alright.
And then a plus 1 is there. Is there anything I'm leaving? Yes. A minus. Thank you. So this becomes your LCM. That's why they gave you 3 marks. So it will give you 3 marks for that. Alright. So this is how the whole 11 marks. Zenda, 11 marks already. You are 30 marks from finishing the whole exam. You are just in question number 2. A 40% is already 30 marks away. So if you can have those, I cannot lose this. I cannot miss this. It's actually, in the first 2 questions, your exam is done. The next thing is to get your distinction. I'm talking about passing. Passing is in question 1 and 2. Now, there are about 6 questions to go for. Now, the all 6 questions is you now going for your biggest mark, like your 80%, your 90%, you know what I mean? But your first 2, you must guarantee yourself to say, that is where I pass my exam. And I cannot miss it, because most of the things is repetition. It's just they change there and there, they try to confuse you there and there, but that's what is revision for. When you revise, you are able to see, oh, this is where they're trying to trick me. So, as you're navigating your way. And Sanda, I have to urgently end the class because I'm actually due for the second class. So, yeah, no problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. That helped a lot. Thank you.
Yes, so we will also bring in tomorrow as we continue. So, most of the things, if you find, I think I'll check if I loaded some previous papers also. If you find that there is a question sometimes you have a problem with, what you can do, you can write it down, take a picture of it, and then put it on Google Classroom. I'll be able to see it so that when we come in the next class, I can sometimes quickly touch it as we're moving on. But it must be in relation to what we're doing so that we don't just get mixed up in everything.
No problem.
Yes. Okay, thank you, sir.
Alright, thanks man. Have a lovely day.
Thank you, same to you. Enjoy your day further. Cheers, bye.